Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now show, where we get you answers for all of your stock-related queries. Remember, viewers, you can connect live to us on the WhatsApp number that's flashing on your screen. Do remember, each time you write to us, mention your name, the stock that you're invested in, mention that name as well. Along with that, do mention the buy price, the quantity, as well as the time horizon. In that way, our experts will be able to help you better. And talking about experts today on the technicals, we have Osho Krishan, who is Senior Analyst, Technical and Derivative Research at Angel One. While on the fundamentals, we have Sharmila Joshi, who's joining us. And both of them will help you or rather guide you better with your investments. With that, let me kickstart with the first query that I have. And the first query that we are actually getting is from a viewer who wants to know about Hindustan Zinc. Venkat Ramani has Hindustan Zinc in his portfolio, 500 shares at a price of 596 rupees per share. He is making a loss in this one. He wants to know whether he should hold, average, or look to exit this one right now. What's your take coming in on Hindustan Zinc? I'll come to you, Sharmila, on this, because Hindustan Zinc is a counter which is also dependent on what happens globally when you talk about metal prices.
Absolutely. And also, I think that it is also linked with what happens with Vedanta as a whole group and, what we heard about their restructuring. So I think for now, really, my best advice would be to be patient and just see how that bit plays out. And you are making a loss, but I think just give it about maybe 2 or 3 quarters and see how things unfold with that whole Vedanta piece, and then take a call. And I think that, as you said, the prices will be dependent on what happens with the metal prices globally. But I think this will be a better underlying theme to wait for, in terms of stock price movement. So I think just stay put for the bit.
All right, moving on to the next query, and this query is coming in on HDFC Bank. Osho, what's your view on this one? Because Shiva Reddy is already holding 760 shares. His buy price is 1610 rupees, and he's been holding this for 1 year. What to do in this one, and any targets to look out for as well? Good morning.
Very good morning to all of you. Well, looking at the technical development of HDFC Bank, then in the last 2 or 3 weeks, there has been a strong consolidation near the zone of 1600. So I expect the buying price is in between the last 2 months. So I expect that this is acting as a very strong support for the counter. But on the weekly time frame, it is on the verge of giving a breakout. Although there is a very lackluster movement for the timing, but once we witness a very strong move beyond the zone of 1660, then we can witness a strong movement in this counter. So one should stay invested in this counter. The time it surpasses the zone of 1660, from there onwards, we can see a decisive up move from short to medium term time frame.
This next query is coming in from Manyan. He's writing to us from Chennai. He wants to know whether it's good to go ahead and buy PFC as well as Motilal Oswal in his portfolio right now due to low valuations. I don't know about PFC, about the valuations right now, given the fact that this one has seen a sharp rise. Sharmila, you'll be able to address it better. Makes sense to buy PFC right now as well as Motilal Oswal in a portfolio?
So, in terms of valuations, I completely agree with you. It's not that it's the best price in terms of valuations, because the valuations do look high. But the fact remains that PFC as a business is attractive, given, the kind of shift that we are seeing in this entire space. So I think there is money to be made here. But I think, again, you need to keep in mind that you're not going to make the kind of money that you already, because these stocks have seen quite a jump with PSC, REC, etc. But that said, I think going forward, the outlook still remains strong. So from that perspective, if you want to consider buying PFC, you could absolutely do that. And I think Motilal Oswal again is a great play. Here the valuations are better, and this is a great play on the fact that we are seeing an increased participation in the equity markets, and this is a stock that would gain from that. And we are all witness to that. I mean, the way retail participation has increased in the markets, and the shift that it has, the impact that shift has had. So I think completely that's again a stock that if you are in a longer term investor, you could look to buy at this point in time.
All right, moving on to the next query then. And Osho, Perumal from Chennai wants your take on KPIT. He's holding 550 shares. His buy price is 350 rupees. Can he hold or sell at this price point? He's already sitting at handsome gains. But Osho, given the one-way run-up in this particular counter in the recent while, do you believe it's still a hold, or maybe look out for some partial profit booking?
See, firstly, it's a very, very whooping kind of a profit that he has already made from 300 towards 1900 odd levels. So that's a very strong returns that can be seen in the counter. But as you have mentioned, this counter has seen a very strong vertical rally and there has been no retracement in between. But looking at the overall trend on a broader time frame, this stock takes a breather near a consolidation zone and again start moving on the higher end. So for the time being, looking at the overall momentum and the historical price movement, one should stay invested in this counter. For now, near about 1750, 1720 is a zone where one should try to keep their stop loss. And on the higher end, until the momentum persists, one should stay invested from a medium to long term perspective.
All right. Then the next query that I have is coming in from Mahendran, who's an 82-year-old gentleman who's writing to us from Mumbai. And he bought Hero MotoCorp, 9 shares at a price of 5,396, as well as 6 shares of TCS at a price of 4,476 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should add some more of these counters in his portfolio. What's your take, Sharmila, on this? Do you think Hero MotoCorp, TCS, no-brainer, add some more and keep in your portfolio and forget about it?
Yes, I think both you can add because both are large caps and both in terms of if you're a longer term investor, then they would slowly sort of go up with price. So I don't think that, as you said, it's practically a no-brainer. It's just that what you need to keep in mind is that these are stocks that have already seen a lot of growth, and now the way their profits will move up, revenues and profits will move up, will be in a measured manner. But at the same time, given the age of the investor, this will add sort of these are sort of safer stocks to buy because it also means that your earnings won't show very big dips. They may not show very high rises, but they won't show very many big dips also. So from that perspective, both are good stocks, and if you're a long-term investor, certainly they can be considered.
All right, moving on to the next query, and this query is on DVs Lab. And Sharmila, if you can help Srinivas, who's a long-term investor, on this investment, because he's already holding 40 shares and his buy price is 4,000 rupees. At this price point, Sharmila, would you advise for an exit and rather make an investment in stocks like Vedant Fashion or Dr. Reddy's?
So you could consider an exit because yes, you are making money and the valuations look expensive. But those two stocks are not stocks, honestly, that I would consider as an alternative. I think look at some other sector altogether. Maybe chemicals. Chemicals could be a good play, or IT. Given the recent developments at Jackson Hole, IT could be a sector you could consider, and mid-cap IT.
All right. This next query that I have is coming in from Kalyan. He's a 23-year-old student, Osho, and he's a professional cricketer also is what he's written to us. He has one query on Bharat Dynamics. He's bought 20 shares at a price of 1,164 rupees per share. He doesn't have the exact time frame, but he thinks a year ago is when he purchased this counter. He is asking how does this one look for the next 2 to 3 years? Will it be a good strategy to keep this one for the longer term? Because he's seen the stock actually see a sharp rise along with the rest of the defense pack to about 2,800 or so. And now with the rest of the defense pack, this one also has seen a correction. What's your take? Do you think that the golden period will come back for Bharat Dynamics?
See, overall, firstly, it's very, very positive development that the youth of our country have started investing in the stock market. So that's a very positive setup for the market, that from here onwards, we can see equity to perform very well because now the inflows has been very strong in our market. So that's a very positive cue. But overall, for BDL, the technical developments have been the counter has seen some kind of correction from the higher zone of 70 bullish. The counter has retraced approximately 50% of the recent highs or the recent development from the lows of approximately 900 and 1700 or 1800 odd levels. But overall, the counter is very positive. One should stay invested. If the time horizon is 1 to 2 years, then stay invested in this counter. You can even try to average out this counter also near the price of approximately 1250, because for a longer duration, defense sector is something that can perform really well. So stay invested for a longer time duration. One can definitely expect a target of 1750, 1800 in the coming period.
Sharmila, let me actually get your take also. No doubt he's a 23-year-old student. He invested a year ago at least in Bharat Dynamics. We got the technical view on this one. What's your take coming in for the longer term based on fundamentals? Do you think that the golden period for Bharat Dynamics or for the rest of the defense pack will return once again?
So I don't know about golden period, but what we have definitely seen is that there has been a shift in the way these stocks were being considered, and there has been a shift also given due to the fact that they are attracting more orders. A lot of them are delivering as far as numbers are concerned. So I think that should be the key parameter to track really going ahead. So if you see a company where the order book is good and you continue to see a good profitability, because these are all long gestation orders and they take a while to translate into profits. So that said, I think coming to Bharat Dynamics, I think it's a fairly reasonable stock and he can definitely continue to hold it.
All right, moving on to the next query then, and Osho, I'm coming to you because this one is an FNO query where Manish Bhatt from Ahmedabad is holding two lots of two stocks actually. One of them is Dixon Tech. He has bought the futures at a price of 13,480. And the next one is Motherson, entered into September futures at a price of 199 rupees. Both are at a loss at this price point. But in the upcoming series, Osho, is that good to hold on?
See, firstly, for Dixon, the counter, where he has bought is at a very high level. So, but I expect that there can be a gradual development over the period of the whole month because we have ample amount of time. But looking at the momentum has been exhausted in this counter. So, better to keep a strict stop loss in this counter nearly approximately towards the zone of 1200, 950 on the spot levels. If it breaches the same zone, then there can be some kind of profit booking because the counter has already seen a very strong move, and on technical parameters it has reached the overbought territory. So this is a very critical zone that one should stay sidelines. If I've invested, then do keep a stop loss of 12,950. The other one is Motherson. In Motherson, again, we have seen a very strong rally in the recent period, but again this counter is hovering near the zone of 200, and 200 being a psychological level has provided very strong resilience. So it will be very crucial to watch that whether it will sustain above the 200 odd levels or not. If yes, then we can see a gradual up move, but this counter still looks very positive on the technical front because it has breached the previous swing high, which was approximately around the same 195, 196 levels on the spot zone. So better to stay invested and hold this position with a stop loss approximately around the zone of 191 on the spot levels. So accordingly, it is better to stay invested in Motherson rather than Dixon.
This is coming from Sandeep from Tirupur. This one is to you, Sharmila. He's already entered into Aarti Farm Labs at a price of around 620, and he also has AB Capital in his portfolio at the price of 207 rupees per share. He's saying he's holding on to this counter for the longer term. Does it make sense to stay put with both of these?
The other stock is Aarti Pharmaceuticals, right?
Aarti Pharma,
so
yes.
Coming to Aarti Pharmaceuticals, yes, definitely you can continue to hold. It is the valuations do look expensive, but given the way the stock has been performing and looking at the outlook for the stock going ahead, I'm comfortable with stock. AB Capital again, given the fact that the new management has been driving business very differently and their targets are being met, I think this is again a stock that I would continue to be positive on. So yes, I think you can stay invested in both.
All right, then moving on, and Adani Enterprise has announced a public issue of secured rated listed redeemable NCDs with the aim of raising rupees 800 crores. So let's go across and listen into what the management has to say.
So thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of something which will be a long-standing tradition. As Hani mentioned, Adani Enterprise is an incubator of infrastructure assets broadly in two areas, one being energy and utility, the other one being transportation. So I wanted to lay the context for the media that is present as to why these two areas. So if you look at India from a global context, then in India, on average, an Indian person consumes roughly 1,300 units of power. The global average is approximately 3,000 units, and some country like China is 5,000 units, and a country like US is roughly 10,000 units. So in the energy space, there is a 5 times to 7 times to 10 times growth potential. And that is why Adani Enterprise is, as you will see when I run through the presentation, Adani Enterprise is focused on energy and utilities, and Adani has been focused on energy and utilities. The other aspect is that, I would encourage you to check this, that India has logistics costs in India's GDP equal roughly about 13% of our total GDP. And say a country like US, the logistic costs in the US GDP are roughly 7% of their GDP. So India is paying, and our consumers are paying, roughly $400 billion, putting it in context of rupees, 320 lakh crore rupees of extra costs. And that is why we want to invest in logistics. That is why you see that we've invested in ports, we are investing in airports, investing in roads, which is currently part of Adani Enterprise. So with this context, that the context you have is to why energy and why transport and logistics. The third aspect is that you will see there are areas around this core of energy and logistics. That is, a certain businesses, some businesses, be it materials, be it metals, they are heavy users of either power or logistics. So if you look at say something like cement, or then cement, the manufacturing part of cement is 20 rupees out of 100, 80 rupees is energy and logistics and distribution. If you look at metals like copper or aluminium, then roughly the
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now. Let's keep it going with all your stock-related queries. We do have Sharmila as well as Osho with us. And Osho, I'm coming to you for the next query because Sridhar from Coimbatore wants a short-term view on Wipro. He's already holding the stock from a price of 545 rupees.
See, Wipro in the recent period have seen a very strong traction. 555 again is a near about the same zone, but overall, if we will be seeing the recent development in the technical charts of Wipro, then it has made an inverted head and shoulder pattern. So yesterday, this has seen a very strong resurgence that has been backed by very strong volume. So I expect that on the higher end, near about 570, 575 is the target that one can expect in the short-term period. So overall, the trend is very positive. Recently, the counter have also witnessed some kind of a strength. The only challenge is the bearish gap, which is approximately around the zone of from the zone of 535 to 550. But overall, looking at the overall setup and the traction in the IT space, I expect that this counter should gain very drastically in the recent period, and immediate targets are seen around the zone of 570 to 75.
This next query that I have is coming in from Yuvraj, and Yuvraj wants to know about Rainbow Children's Hospital. 80 shares at a price, not given the price, but Sharmila is mentioned he's at a 12% loss. in this counter. He's saying he can hold on to it for the longer term. But does it make sense to hold on to Rainbow Children? Or should he look to add some more of REC and BEL in his portfolio, which he already has? Or instead park the money in a new stock altogether?
So I'm okay with REC and BEL. I think both are good stocks. Even coming to Rainbow Child, the valuations look a little expensive, but performance-wise, I think they're doing fairly well. So if he's patient, he should just hang on to what he has.
All right, moving on to the next query. And Sharmila, the next query is from Satya, who is holding 50 shares of Ambuja Cement at a price of 450 rupees. Can hold this for the long term. What will be your advice?
So the advice would be to continue to hold, because cement as a sector is one that I like, and this stock is well placed within that sector. So continue to hold.
All right, coming to you, Osho, let me talk about or ask you the query about Raymond, because this one is coming in from Bharti Dave, who's writing to us from Gandhinagar, long-term investor about 100 shares in Raymond at a price of around 1,850 rupees per share. Wants to know whether it makes sense to go ahead and add some more at these levels?
See, overall, he has bought the position very strongly at the retracement from the higher zone. So that is a very decent entry level for this counter. But from here onwards, yes, the counter looks very positive and has seen a decent retracement from the higher zone. And it is expected to move nearly towards the zone of 2100, followed by 2150 in a very short-term perspective. So if he wants, he can definitely accumulate more of this counter for short-term view of 2150. But the time it breaches 2150, then we can see a very drastic upsurge, which can even retouch the higher zone of 2350 in the coming period. So overall, the trend is very positive. One needs to accumulate this counter from short or even from medium-term time frame.
All right, moving on to the next query. And Osho, once again coming to you, because KB Singh wants a short-term view on TVS Motors. He has already purchased 500 shares. Buy price is 2,320 rupees. And as we see that the stock is hitting its all-time high levels day by day. Good to book out some profits, or can he continue for the next 3 months as well? And any targets to look out for?
This counter has been into a very strong up movement, but looking at the recent development in the last 4 trading session, there has been some kind of exhaustion on the bullish momentum in this counter, but still the trend looks very positive. This counter can see some kind of time-wise correction, so one should definitely keep a stop loss of 2690 on the spot zone. If it comes below 2690, then we can see some kind of further correction, not very strong correction, but further correction towards the zone of 2600. So that will be again providing opportunity to accumulate this counter from medium term time frame. So for the time being, it's better to keep a stop loss of approximately 45 points from the current market price and hold on to this counter from short to medium term time frame.
All right, this one is coming from MSV Raghavan, who's a senior citizen, and only for 3 months he wants to know whether he should look to buy Ujjivan Small Finance Bank and IDBI Bank. What's your take, Osho?
See, overall, both the counters are looking very positive. It's like he can, for short-term perspective, he can actually accumulate this counter. Ujjivan Finance has not performed really well, so better to look for some space on the higher end, some movement on the higher counter. Approximately the time it breaches the zone of 45 to 46, then we can see some kind of traction in Ujjivan Finance. So wait for some kind of movement, approximately 3 to 4 points from here onwards. Then he can look to accumulate this counter for short-term time frame, and immediately the target should be around the zone of 50.
Right, Sharmila, the next query is from Sujoy, who has bought 150 shares of Cochin Shipyard, but his buy price is 2,671 rupees. What's your take on this, Sharmila?
So the buying price is fairly high. I think that's about what's wrong. And I think again we've spoken about this a number of times, that when it comes to stocks which were sort of in this PSU stroke defense play, we saw the run up was absolutely astronomical, and the kind of returns that they've given. But now I think we are witnessing a sort of a first break and slowdown. That said, I think this is one stock where the order books are strong and the delivery also has been fairly good. So I would request that he be a little patient, and if he sees it correct a little more, you can always take a technical view on this. But I think if you were to correct about 5-6% more from these current levels, then you could look to add more. But definitely, I think continue to hold what you have.
This one is also coming to you, Sharmila, from Rajiv from Mumbai, and he has 500 shares of Tata Motors DVR. He bought it at the price of 150 rupees per share. Now he wants to know what should he do. Should he look to sell it in the market or convert it instead to a Tata Motors shares tax? And he wants to know about the tax implications. I don't know whether you will be able to answer that or no, but what should he do with Tata Motors DVR shares now?
So luckily, even I'm an holder of Tata Motors DVR, and basically what's going to happen is that the DVR is going to convert into Tata Motors. The unfortunate part, according to me, in this whole thing was that the ratio of conversion is not that great. So for I think it's 10 to 7 or whatever. So it's not for every 10 shares of DVR that you hold, you will get 7 shares of Tata Motors. And already DVR traded at a significant discount to Tata Motors. So, which is why, one felt as an investor that this ratio was not in favor of DVR holders. So, DVR holders got 5% additional dividend, which will obviously go. But in lieu of that, you will have voting rights, which, honestly, retail investors didn't really use. But I think so we will get shares of Tata Motors anyway, and I think we have to be happy with that. So, I continue to hold what shares I have, and I think that the investors should do the same.
All right, so that's the take coming in on Tata Motors. But for this, it's time to slip into a very short break. Viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to take more of your stock-related queries. Welcome back to Buy Now, Sell Now, and let's keep it going with your stock-related queries then. And the next query that I have, Sharmila is coming in from Balan, and he's holding DLF from a price of 600 rupees, and he also has Balrampur Chini from a price of 450 rupees. Sharmila, he is sitting at good gains in this one. What's your outlook? Both of these are hold, or now he can look to shift to some other counters after a decent gain?
DLF, I think I would continue to hold because real estate as a sector, and given the fact that the kind of data that we've been hearing about this company with their projects in the north, NRC region, etc. So that data is good, and overall, this is a sector that I'm very positive on. So I will continue to hold that. When it comes to Balrampur Chini, I'm not very positive on sugar as a sector because I think that this when a sector is the commodity, sugar as a commodity is so sensitive to inflation and other things that they are not really allowed to operate in a very free environment. So there are always controls that are put at various levels because it directly impacts your inflation number. So that's my only concern. But since he's sitting on good gains, it might be a good idea to sort of exit that and look at some other sector.
All right then, Sharmila, once again coming to you because Madhukar from Hyderabad wants to know, can he go ahead and buy Nestle India at current market price, but he wishes to stay invested for the next 3 years?
Yeah, I think anybody who has that kind of a horizon doesn't really need to worry too much about Nestle because, in my experience, this belongs to a sort of a group of blue chip stocks that deliver. There will be something happening. Maybe for a year you will see a lull, but in a period of 3 years, their numbers and the products that they have, their pan-India presence, the manufacturing capabilities that they're increasing, everything will see to it that their numbers sort of move up. So yes, I think it's a great idea to buy Nestle with a 3-year horizon.
Right, moving on. The next query, Osho, is coming in from Vishakha, and since you were appreciating the young man who wrote to us a while back, I would like to highlight that Vishakha is a senior citizen and a homemaker who's been investing and started her investment journey just 2 to 3 years back, but is a long-term investor. And Osho, she needs your advice on KEC International. She wants to know, is this a good stock to enter even right now for the next 2 to 3 years, and if not, this is the correct time, then at what level she can look to enter this one?
Overall, basically the inflow from the DIIs are basically from the retail investors. So that's a piece for appreciation for all the individual retailers who has been investing in Indian equity market. Now coming to the query on KEC Limited, then this counter have seen a very strong upsurge, and this has been maintaining the continuity of higher highs, higher lows on the daily time frame. Currently, it is on the verge of giving a breakout, so I expect that this should continue on the higher end. Immediate basis, 1000 is the target for KEC International. The time it breaches the zone of 1000, then we can see another rally of approximately 60 to 70 odd points. So 1060 to 70 should be the again medium term target for this counter, but immediately 1000 is the target where we need to review the counter whether it will be having more momentum in the recent period or whether it will consolidate around those levels. So for the time being, yes, one can definitely enter for higher targets of near to 1000.
All right, but Osho, she wanted a long-term view on this one. Maybe for the next 2 to 3 years, is like 1000 is almost like 60 rupees away.
It's a very short term. Yes, it's a very short term target. Overall, looking at the historical price movement, this counter has been in a very strong rally. So there can be a very strong upsurge because in this year we have seen approximately 60% of higher movement. So I am not very much optimistic with the target in this current year. But looking at the historical price movement, yes, one should stay invested. There can be strong returns. I cannot quote that what levels one should definitely eye for, but for the time being, 1060-70 is the target that one can definitely expect from short to medium term. The time it breaches those zones, then again looking at the historical price movement, one can definitely stay invested even for higher duration.
Then moving on to the next query in Vishaka. The next query that I have, Sharmila, is coming in from Drishti, writing to us all the way from Dubai. Wants an advice on Union Bank, holding 800 shares, buy price is 148 rupees. Wants a medium-term outlook on this one.
It's a fairly decent sort of a PSU bank. I think in terms of valuations also it looks fairly okay. I think a near-term target you could be looking at could be around 150.
All right. The next query that I have is on Z Entertainment, and Sharmila, given the recent news flow, are you liking this stock at this price point? Because this stock doesn't have a great history, but Ranganathan is already holding 500 shares and buy price is very near to the current market price at 143 rupees.
So if he's bought it at the price closer to this price, then maybe you can wait and see how the recent developments play out. But overall, I am not very positive on Z as a stock, and I'm not very positive on general entertainment channels as a space. I think all of them are sort of restructuring to include OTT and other streams into their revenue models. And I think, given everything, all the developments that have happened, Z Entertainment would not be the stock that I would recommend within the space. But since he has it, maybe he can stay invested and see where the recent developments take the stock.
Right, that's the view coming in on Z Entertainment. But with this, viewers, it's time's up in this particular show. Thank you so much, Sharmila, as well as Osho, for joining us today and helping all our viewers resolve their stock-related queries. But for now, it's a goodbye from me and Cheryl and the entire team who put the show together. Thank you so much for tuning in, but don't go anywhere. Markets at noon will take the action ahead.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.